Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 123rd episode of the Spiritual Brainstorm. In this last episode, I'd like to discuss two ideas or two metaphors or allegories, whatever you want to call them, to further explain what we're doing here, why certain things are happening the way they are. In these examples, I use two very well known games, which is the snake game and Tetris. So let's start with Tetris. So as you know, Tetris is this basic game where you have these little blocks falling from the sky, and you as the player have to arrange them here and put them in the right place in order for a line to be made, and then that cancels itself out and you can move on. And of course the game gets quicker and quicker and more complex. That's the whole challenge of the game. And then you have this song that's always there. Da, 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 da. So why am I talking about Tetris? Well, you see, if you looked at my past episodes, you'll have realized that I modeled the universe as being a giant black hole. Where things sort of spin in and out of the black hole, go into the black hole, come out of the black hole. And at the heart of the black hole, of course, you have singularity, where there's infinite compression, basically, or infinite gravity, infinite mass. But that translates to infinite information. So, just to recap, if you don't know why I modeled the universe as just being one giant black hole, it's because the universe polarizes itself, the initial duality, which is nothing and everything, as zero and infinity. Then stepping up from zero, you have vibrations. Stepping down from infinity, you have multiverse. Stepping up from zero, you have the photon or light. And light, in my mind, because you just have to find a form to escape perfect symmetry and vibrations, where every vibration meets a vibration of opposite phase and they cancel each other out. So you move to the photon, which is basically vibrations wrapped in a toroidal fashion, spinning, creating the very first black hole, basically. That's how you avoid superposition of perfect symmetry, because you have these vibrations that are kind of wrapped around this black hole and you escape perfect symmetry like this. So a photon is kind of like a self-contained pocket of vibrations or information. And of course, stepping down from the multiverse, you have a universe. And so the macro and micro are always linked. And so the universe is just a projection of one single photon with an infinite points of view, if you will, of consciousness, looking at that one single photon in an infinite quantum state, projected outwards as one single photon of a particular color. And then these photons interact, and that pocket then is a universe. But the universe still as just one giant black hole made up of trillions and trillions and trillions of photons. And then, so the black hole is like the fundamental building block of what's in the universe, and everything in the universe is a black hole, including you. And the universe simply structures itself as black holes nested inside of each other, all falling into this one main black hole, if you will. So you have a human, which is a black hole falling into the black hole at the center of the Earth. The Earth is falling into the black hole at the center of the Sun. The Sun is falling into the black hole at the center of the galaxy. The galaxy's black hole is falling into the black hole which is at the center of the cluster of galaxies, and the cluster of galaxies is falling into the universal black hole. Universal black hole. Now, what happens when you get closer and closer to the center of the black hole as you come spiraling down? Well, as I said, there's more and more information. The information gets denser. And that's what gives you the illusion of evolution. Evolution in a way which increases complexity. So you could think of the universe as a giant game of Tetris, where as points of consciousness fall into the black hole, you get more and more information that sort of falls from the sky here, like these little blocks fall from the sky. And then you need to find forms or consciousnesses in the reality to arrange these blocks that are falling from the sky in a way which is harmonious, in a way which doesn't lead to a dead end where, they stack on top of each other and then game over. And the whole idea is that the universe creates strategies, like for instance, you have the living cell, which is like a fundamental building block or Lego block for managing to make sense of ideas that fall from the sky, like, animals and plants and plenty of other things, jellyfish, plenty of different things, fish. Wow, I'm such a bad drawer. Anyways, these are just, what is this? It's just more complexity, right? It's like as you get further and further down into the black hole, the information gets denser, that gets translated into forms, which is, for instance, animals, which is much more complex as a form, as an idea. It contains more information than, say, a rock or a volcano or just like something that's pure chemistry. And just so much more complex. Of course, the humans are also this kind of Lego block, or fundamental structure, which allows to give form to more complex information. And these blocks at the level of humans are ideas, concepts, or thoughts. So, if you just look around you, you realize that humans live in a reality made up of ideas. If you have like a car here, that's an idea. A car is an idea. A house is an idea. A computer is an idea. A bed is an idea. Everything is an idea. A chair is an idea. Democracy is an idea. Human rights. The tax code is an idea. And in case you haven't noticed, you can see that this world has become much like more and more complex. You can see that more and more, it's almost like more and more ideas are falling from the sky, and humans are just running around like crazy trying to integrate them harmoniously into our reality. You now have like 3D printing, AI, blockchain. It's almost as if we're like running around like crazy. All these ideas are falling faster and faster from the sky because we're falling deeper and deeper into this black hole, coming closer and closer to the singularity. The density of information is getting bigger, and we have to deal with all of that. And so it's almost like this is like almost escaping our control. Like we're reaching the limits of how much information we can process. It's like this game of Tetris is just getting too fast, and you can see that like building blocks are kind of piling on top of each other in a messy kind of way, and we're like almost feeling like it's game over. And that's the sensation of, the end of the world, blah, 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 the apocalypse coming. We can just sense that humanity is reaching the limits as to, its ability to deal with all of these new ideas or the information density that we're getting into. And that's your transition from 3D to 5D, basically. 5D is just a higher, you'd say higher vibration? Higher vibration, that's what most spiritual people say. But higher vibrations simply means more information or denser information. That's all it is. In a lower vibration, this is an information. Any vibration contains information. And if you have a higher vibration, it contains more information. It's as simple as that. And of course, in order to deal with that excess information, the only thing that we can do at our level right now is for humans to form a global collective organism or a being that is made up of humans as its cells, that from its perspective, it'll be able to play this game of Tetris in a much more efficient way. And it's just like passing the baton to, this being that we're a part of. But in order to do that, we first need to harmonize our relations and behave like one cell in a global collective organism. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And so just like individual single-celled organisms would be incapable of dealing with information density without getting together in a harmonious way in order to manifest all these different forms, which are just representations of more complexity, including the human, by the way. So, like when first biology appeared, it could deal with the information density, everything was fine. But then as basically everything was falling into that black hole, or consciousness falling into its own black hole, if you will. Consciousness falling into itself and becoming more and more of itself, and then it needs to create these structures which allow for integrating more and more information, or playing this game of Tetris more and more efficiently, and putting these blocks in the right way so that it all arranges and you don't get game over. So that's why I was saying, ultimately you can see that the universe is basically playing Tetris with itself. And this metaphor of, as you get closer and closer to the center of the black hole, the information density gets bigger, and so it's like these blocks are falling faster, and you need to find new beings or entities or whatever you want to call them that play this game in order to deal with the extra complexity. Because look at the tax code. Who understands the tax code? We even make jokes out of it, or TV series. So those are just, you might think that humans are responsible for this excess complexity, but in my mind, it's just the outer manifestation of a process which is beyond us. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is the snake game. Now, if you remember, on Nokia's, there was this very popular game which was like the snake. It was just like a bar, and then there was like this square, and you had to go and eat it, and then your snake would become one bar bigger, and then you repeat that. Now, what's interesting with this game is that there was only one strategy for getting the highest score, and that is you had to do this basically. Go to all the edges of the screen and then just go like this. Do, 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 do. And then ultimately you just fill the entire screen, and then the game would end and you'd get like highest score. Now, why am I talking about this game? Well, ultimately the snake game is a very good proxy for the ultimate objective of the universe. So let's say that this screen is infinity. It's everything that exists. Everything is possible. And the whole point of the universe is to explore itself, of course. And coming back to the example before, you have the singularity in the center of that black hole that you're falling into, where the information density is infinite. And so that's where the all exists, everything at the same time. But in order to experience everything at the same time, you have to develop certain strategies. And the problem is, for instance, if certain forms, like humans, for instance, decide that they want to cut off parts of infinity and pretend that this part of the screen doesn't exist and then just play on this side of the screen, then the universe will never get to know what's here. And so when I was talking about Lego blocks in the last slide, the living cell is a very neutral block. That is, it excludes very little. It excludes unicorns from existing. Granted, unicorns are not going to exist because probably that would mess up reality. Or dragons. I'm not going to try and draw that because otherwise you'd make fun of me. Dragons, that's excluded. But other than that, the living cell is so well calibrated that it manifests so many different things. Now imagine the cell said, carnivores. I don't like that very much. Let's get rid of carnivores. I don't want carnivores. I'll tweak my internal DNA to make it impossible for carnivores to exist. And how about rabbits? I don't want them to exist because they're going to eat my beautiful flowers that I will manifest. And I love flowers. I don't want flowers to be eaten. And it can do a list of all the quote-unquote evil forms that shouldn't exist or shouldn't be made manifest via this core structure, which is the living cell. But just think of, it's almost as if you have like this centered or balanced kind of creation, where out of that you can manifest so many different things, like a trunk of a tree, basically. And that needs to be really stable, and then from that you can spring in all kinds of directions. And one of these branches is going to be carnivores. And all that tree sort of grows until it reaches the next stage, which is like the human, which is the bridge between two dimensions, the world of biology and the dimension of ideas or thoughts, which are ultimately your 5D, because in what dimension does democracy reside in, or human rights, or angels? These are all ideas. They're immaterial, and humans are the bridge between the material and the immaterial. And the more we sort of develop in our intellect and we become more and more quote-unquote high in vibration, which just means that we're better at dealing with ideas, then the more we leave biology and we enter in this new realm. But again, imagine if the living cell, which is at the heart of this, which is like the seed from which biology then sprouts and grows in all directions, decided to get rid of all that, like half of that tree, and only wanted to grow this part. Do you think the conditions would have been met for manifesting the next form, that is humans, which are the bridge between biology and 5D? Hardly. And so, I've said this before, but basically you can think of it this way. The laws of physics are what they are because they allow the laws of chemistry to emerge on top of them. The laws of chemistry are what they are because they allow for the laws of biology to exist on top of them. The laws of biology are what they are because they allow for the manifestation of humanoid creatures like humans that allow to become the bridge between the world of ideas and the world of biology. And then the laws that apply to humans will be what they will be because they'll allow to repeat this process into infinity. And that's just how precise we have to become as humans in order to be balanced, and us being a seed from which the universe can then explore itself further in all directions. Again. And if we start being judgmental about, well, let's, keep the Arcturian branch. Arcturian. And we also like the Pleiadians. Let's keep those two, right? But let's get rid of the branch of the reptilians, because we don't like them. They're evil, right? And how about this branch, which is an idea of like the demons? Let's get rid of the demons because they're bad. And let's keep the branch of angels. Now, that is not to say that we should manifest anything, just about anything, because like I said, for instance, the living cell does not manifest unicorns or dragons. But these actually get, how should I say, displaced into the next dimension, which is ideas, concepts, and thoughts. So whatever forms one form didn't manage to manifest because simply it would have not managed to create a harmonious whole out of those two ideas within the material realm, they'll get experienced in the next reality, which is the realm of ideas or immaterial realm, which we make material via humans. Because we can think of unicorns and maybe we can manipulate genetics, or maybe we can just like manifest them out of our thoughts in, say, 2,000 or 3,000 years when we have matured enough to manifest ideas without breaking this reality. But that's the whole point, you see. What is possible for humans at any given point in time is instrumental to this snake game kind of metaphor. That is, the universe, because it wants to explore itself fully, will make sure that wherever humans sort of, well, to sort of edge us or push us or to make sure that we do become centered in our mastery of ideas, thoughts, concepts, and to be as neutral as possible, just like the living cell, to maximize the number of ideas, concepts, and thoughts that we hold inside of us in a harmonious way and become the seed out of which all of these can be explored fully with no discrimination, or as little as possible. We don't judge. We're not here to judge. We're just here to have concepts, ideas, and thoughts and harmonize them. That's our job. And we can ask the being that we're but a part of to help. Just like you would have like proteins inside this amino acids, which would ask to the cell, which is kind of the form that envelops them, and which has a kind of wisdom which is higher than what the amino acid or the protein could come up with themselves, to find solutions to certain problems. And so, as humans, the kind of things that we're asked to do is get in touch with the being that we're but a part of, its consciousness. Just like your cells would ask you, the person in command or in charge of your body, what to do if they feel pain. For instance, imagine you put your hand on a hot stove. Your fingers, the cells at the tip of your fingers, don't know how to react. They don't know what to do to stop the pain that they're feeling, the burning pain. But they can send pain signals to you via the nervous system, and then you, with your brain and then your higher level of consciousness, can say, oh, actually, I'm going to remove my hand from the stove, and then I'm going to run to, cool it under some running water, and then I'm going to treat it with... All of that is completely beyond your cells, individual cells' comprehension. And so in the same way, once you know that the whole point for the universe is to play this snake game with itself in a way where it leaves nothing behind and it explores everything, then you understand that basically it's all about, how should I say, finding the right order or the right way of sorting these ideas in order to experience everything. And so if humanity arranges itself in a harmonious way, and becomes this neutral template, then we can experience or manifest or give a form to all of these different things without breaking our reality. Because maybe what we'll do is we will find a way to completely immerse our brains into a virtual reality where we can experience Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever sci-fi movie we want, in a way where we, lock part of the memory of the subject, and let him experience like a second birth or a second life in a virtual reality that would last subjectively an eternal, like a whole lifetime, but objectively inside this reality it would only take like 10 minutes and then you'd wake up. I mean, that was already explored in a Star Trek episode, for instance, and that's very real. That may be very one possibility. Or it doesn't have to be through technology. It can be through lucid dreaming. It can be through anything. Or it can simply be with us then transitioning to this 5-dimensional reality. We take our bodies with us, which is basically our way to to experience ideas, concepts, and thoughts in a material way by taking these body suits, if you will, with us. Just like in VR, we use these haptic suits in VR to give us sensation of something virtual. Well, that's why the reason why we're doing that is because that's what we're actually doing by transitioning from the world of biology into this higher dimension. We are meant to take our body suits with us, which are a kind of haptic suit for experiencing the world of concepts, ideas, and thoughts, which for now you cannot explore in a material way, except via this kind of painful process where we have to physically manifest everything via factories and the physical process. And that won't necessarily have to be the case in the future, but if you're in the astral and you're out of body, so you have an out of body experience, that experience is not as tangible or as intense as when you're in a body. And the body has so many different qualities and use cases. But so just understand that, for instance, if you take this idea of the reptilians and you actually bring it down into physical reality, and then the human race gets eaten by reptilians, the end, then the snake game won't work. I mean, you won't be able to explore all of the screen. So that cannot happen. But if reptilians just remain one of the branches of ideas, concepts, and thoughts that humans have managed to balance, and that we manifest all of this, and we're like almost the trunk of a big tree from which everything that humans can imagine gets upgraded into being able to play in physicality with this idea of linear space-time and all that stuff. I mean, it's just like now you're doing that for fun. And it's just a new way for playing with things. And of course, many people will say, what do you mean? Like, we create angels, Arcturians, Pleiadians, reptilians? Well, in my vision of the world, everything creates everything else. And we are created as much by Arcturians, Pleiadians, and angels sending some thoughts towards us as we create them by sending back thoughts to them. And so it's like this co-creative process where everything in the universe creates everything else. I've already talked about this in previous episodes, like for instance with this Indra's net, where you have these spheres, this network of spheres in the universe. And what's nice with this model is that every part of the universe is reflected in every sphere, and they all reflect back to each other everything. Indra's net. And what happens if one of these spheres you'd make it a square or a triangle, then it starts reflecting things in a non-symmetrical, non-perfectly symmetrical way. And suddenly the universe is no longer a perfect reflection of itself, but a deformed reflection of itself. And that's what, that's the whole process of entering into experience, is when the totality is no longer contained in every single part of the universe, or it is, but you are under the illusion that it isn't, because you, as a consciousness in charge of one of these spheres, have made it into like this weird shape that distorts the image that you project of the universe, that you project back to it in a deformed kind of way. But it's still interesting for the universe, of course, to think, oh, actually, this human thinks that I am, I don't know, unjust, or I am finite, or I am physical, or I am this or that. And that's all of your beliefs, basically. Beliefs which distort reality. And normally, once you clean everything, then you become a sphere again, and the universe, you reflect back to the universe an accurate image of what it is by just projecting in a non-judgmental, completely blank kind of way, I guess, the universe back to itself. And that's your idea of, that's how babies basically, that's what babies do, because they don't have a mental structure or belief systems in the first few months. And that's what Jesus also says when he says that the people that are like babies will go into paradise. It's not being like a baby, it's basically just cleaning your belief system until it is so pure that you're not creating only part of the universe, you're creating the totality. You see? That's the whole idea. By cleaning up your belief system, you become less and less judgmental. And as a seed, as a human seed, from you, the entire universe can be recreated again in its infinite nature, without you trying to cancel parts of it out because you deem that they're unworthy, evil, bad, whatever. But that takes a lot of time and practice, and chill. It's not like we're in some kind of hassle or urgency or whatever. But just understand that both this snake game and the Tetris game give you an indication of why things are happening the way they are. It's because ultimately it's almost like we're being guided to play this snake game in a way that will allow the universe to experience all of itself. And so everything that you're trying to get rid of, you are opposed to, are coming up so strong, because it's like the universe saying, hey, wait a minute. You're going to fail at this snake game, you're going to go here, and then you're going to, again, end up in dead end, and then what about exploring this? Hey, that's a waste. I want to know everything. I want to experience all that I am. And the Tetris game the same. It's also about delegating and saying, like, at a certain point in this game, you delegate part of that wisdom to the being that you're just a part of, because you've attained or reached the limits of what you can do as a human. And of course, it's not like you stop being human, or you're just like a puppet now at the service of this grander being. And as a matter of fact, single-celled organisms, when they're in your body, they do their job. They do their part. They're still what they're supposed to be. They're still, doing what they're supposed to do, but they do it in a harmonious and, very, very neat kind of way, as opposed to unicellular organisms that are fighting in a swamp and spending a lot of time and resources competing against each other. So those are the two topics I want to talk about today, and I hope you found those interesting. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, the classical stuff. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.